Hey everyone, welcome back to another Anime Kingdom review. See by title below, yes, this is on episode 11 of SukaSuka. And yes, I know, this is a week late. And obviously, you've seen when I have gotten behind because of my trip and everything that I decided to do double episode reviews. And you might be wondering why this only says episode 11 and not episode 11 and 12. Well, the reasoning for that is that I kind of wanted to split up this episode review from the finale that just happened this week, compared to how if it was just two normal episodes, not a final episode, I probably would have just done a double episode review. But considering that the next episode 12 is the final episode, I wanted to have a review just for that episode alone. That is why I'm doing it like this, and that is why this is only on episode 11. So if you were looking for episode 12 review, then it should be coming up a little bit later after this one already, has been uploaded for a while. So yeah, that's all I got to say for that. If you're wondering why this is late, I'll explain that for you guys, just to, of course, clarify if you were wondering why, and you haven't been up to date with my Facebook or Twitter, is the fact that I ended up getting really sick, and I've been sick for a while. I still am kind of sick. I still have this, honestly, this really bad cough. So if you do see cuts here and there in the video, which normally I don't really do, that is pretty much because I ended up I can't talk for a long time sometimes. If I talk for a long time, then I start to cough. So if there is here and there, I'm getting better, so there may not be any cuts, but if there are cuts, that's pretty much the reasoning why. But yeah, let's get on to how I felt about episode 11. This episode, full on build up to what's going to be coming in the next one. Seriously, in a way, I gotta say that most of the episodes, the whole season, has just been a build up to what's going to be happening in this final episode coming up in episode 12, with pretty much the first beginning part of episode 1 was literally a little glimpse into what's going to happen in that final episode, to which of course we see Kotori falling from the sky, red hair fully red and everything. You got Willem with Ren somewhere else, and everything looks like it's going to shit. The ship is destroyed and everything, and it's going to be a sad ending, and that's why I'm actually really dreading. I have not watched episode 12 yet, if you were wondering that. I wanted to, of course, like I said before, do this review first and then go ahead and watch it. So honestly, I'm really scared for what's going to happen in the next episode, especially considering everything that happened in this episode. We already knew that everything was going to be bad when it came to, how we saw the beginning of episode 1 start off with that little showing of what's going to happen later on in the series. And I've just been dreading the moment when it's going to come. I've been wondering if somewhere along the way people are going to die. Nothing like that ended up happening, so I was kind of happy, but you knew sooner or later it was going to happen, and that is of course going to be what happens in the next episode, especially considering how this episode ended. And in normal SukaSuka fashion, this episode really is just how normally a lot of the episodes go, with the beginning part being kind of all nice. You have them kind of, all shy and embarrassed towards each other because of what happened in the last episode with the proposal and everything. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, everything's all nice. Things are going to go to shit pretty soon. And it starts to go downhill. You see Willem back in his, his home village and everything. That moment when he was at his old house and he had a flashback of them, the girl and the rest of the family over there popping up, and he's like, does he even have the right to say, he's home? I was literally like, oh man, that hurt my heart a little already. I was like, oh, there's the first crack. There's the first start of the Fields train right there. Something bad's going to happen here for sure. And what do you know? Yes, for some reason, earthquake happens. They fall through the ground. Everything's going to shed. Everyone's being attacked by all the monsters, the beasts and everything. And you, of course, see the point where we actually get to see the girl who is, the red-haired girl that we always see in Kotori's mind and everything. Her name ends up being Elk, I don't know what the hell it was. Seriously, when the person writing this was thinking what should we name him, and just literally face rolled the computer, the keyboard, and that's how you would get that name. Because literally, what the hell? The first name, I guess maybe you can go along and say Elk, ELQ. I guess that could be something, the last name literally was just like I don't even know what it was. It started with an H, I think, and I was just like, what kind of name is that? That is not a normal name. That's literally you just like rolled your hand across the keyboard just for fun, and you're like, hey, you know what? I'll make that the last name of this character. Why? You know, seriously, I was kind of confused on that point. But yeah, names aside, obviously, we end up finding out that for a while I actually thought that the girl who was, you know, what's it called? Willem's friend from before was actually the girl who ends up dying, and she's the spirit of who Kotori is. Because as we know, leprechauns come from the spirits of dead children, and that's why I kind of thought that that girl, she still looked like she was kind of not like a child, but maybe, you know, a teen, and maybe that still works like that. And so I thought for the whole, you know, this longest time that she was going to be who, you know, Kotori's true past self was. And of course, you know, that's why maybe even her feelings had progressed into this life and Kotori's life as well for Willem, because she had feelings as well, as you saw in this episode. But it ends up totally being completely different. And the fact is, Elk and that girl are totally two different people. Elk ends up being a damn immortal, a god, and she ends up giving this story about how humanity was going to destroy the world. 3 gods sent an army to attack them, failed, because obviously a human brave ends up killing their master. And of course that ends up being, I'm pretty sure that's what they were talking about, was that girl, and she ends up killing Elk. Well, killing Elk in a way, since she is a god, normally she wouldn't be able to die, but because of that sword's curse, she was able to pretty much make her body into a corpse. And, you know, her body's dead, but her spirit lives on, and that's why Kotori was created, pretty much. And I love the way they pretty much describe how this, you know, what Kotori is and what leprechauns are, is that they are a dream of that spirit, that child's, you know, dream and everything. And sooner or later, dreams always do end. And that is why slowly and slowly, the leprechauns, you know, finally to one point where they will just completely disappear because the dream finally ends for that child. And I'm not too sure if that means that Elk's going to come back to life, or I guess it would just restart kind of thing all over again, that process of how, you know, the leprechauns keep going, you know, more and more again, kind of like how, you know, Ithea is as well. I think that's how it works, something like that. So that's probably what's going to happen, something like that. Because we saw in like a dang ice prison, ice tomb kind of thing, that Elk is still frozen. Her body is still affected by the sword. So I don't think that they would be able to do anything to stop that, to like her to come back through there. But that's pretty much the story. That's pretty much what happened. That's pretty much why we see throughout this episode that when she touches the thing, her hair practically fully, you know, Kotori's hair practically fully turns red, and she's pretty much all gone. When she's like unconscious talking to, what's it called, Elk, she pretty much doesn't have any of her memory. She has a little bit left, and she was of course able to remember Willem at the very end and everything as well, but she pretty much practically forgot all her memories. And this is the point where, you know, you see at the beginning of the first episode that everything's going bad. You saw that they were trying to lift off, that one guy fixed the ship and everything, but we already know from how the first episode started that the ship's going to be like broken in half or something like that. She's gonna be, you know, Kotori's gonna be falling down from the sky, hair fully red. I don't know what's gonna happen there. We already saw that there's a chance that Ren may end up dying as well. As you saw, her eyes are starting to turn red, which means she's starting to be affected. She's starting to use too much of whatever it's called, starts with a V, I think they call it, Vertium or something. She's using too much because she's trying to defend everyone. So I'm scared for Ren, because as you know, I do love Ren as well. And Noft and Ran are also outside, probably going to sacrifice themselves. By how it sounds like they're probably going to, you know, use their nuke ability, pretty much sacrifice themselves to destroy a bunch of them, because there's literally hundreds and thousands of them. So I don't know how else they would be able to stop them. And of course at the very end you see Willem is just in this episode. It's honestly, it definitely is interesting to see how he sees Kotori. He's arguing with himself pretty much on that. He sees Kotori as a promise made for that one girl that in his past. He sees it for the other girl as well, for the love thing and all that kind of stuff. And you do see that it's like really, you know, it's hard on him that all of this stuff is happening. He thought he could finally, you know, fulfill all that stuff. But once again, you know, it just seems that fate wants to just stick it up his ass and say, you know, too bad, everything's gonna go to shit for you, I'm sorry. And it's just like, it's so sad for Willem, man. It's so sad for Willem, it's so sad for Kotori. But if with Kotori, she's gonna lose her memory, she's not gonna be there anymore. With Willem, like, if it's an ending with Kotori sacrificing herself, I feel so sorry for Willem. I don't know how he's gonna be able to live with himself after this point. But yeah, that's the thing too, is that we don't know how this is going to end, you know? You saw at the end that Willem destroyed that one monster. He was pissed. He was done with this. And you like, I don't know how he killed him, because I don't think he used a sword either, because that would weaken him more. But either way, it was like the next episode is probably going to be something super badass. And honestly, it scares me because there's so many different possibilities. We can see Willem only dying. He sacrificed himself. Somehow Kotori ends up living, kind of thing. Kotori lives. Willem dies. Or like I said, like that. Or Kotori dies, Willem lives. Everyone dies. Only Kotori and Willem die, and everyone else is somehow able to live. There's a numerous ways, and all of them look pretty damn bad, and it's honestly kind of scary. And that's why I'm dreading the moment when I have to go and watch episode 12, because I think it's gonna end in a bad way. Now, that's not gonna, you know, make the show any worse or anything. I've loved the emotions I've been getting from this series and everything, and so far they've executed everything pretty damn well. So no matter the outcome, good or bad, if somehow it's a fairy tale ending and they all live happily ever after, I'll be super happy. If it doesn't, I'll still enjoy the show, and hopefully, if they execute it correctly, I'll still think that it's probably like it'll be like one hell of a feels, you know, ride, but it'll be worth it in a way. I don't know. I'm just trying to make myself feel a little better if it does end up being really bad, you know. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about this episode, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this Anime Kingdom review. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If there's anything and you want to talk about, comment below as well. And as always, guys, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, good, bad, however you guys felt about this episode and what you guys think about, without spoiling, obviously, because I haven't watched the next episode. What do you think? You know, you don't have to say. If you never watched episode 12, you can comment below what you think is going to happen. If you did already, don't spoil it, please, for me and any people who haven't watched episode 12 yet. But yeah, that's all I gotta say, guys. Hope you enjoyed this Anime Kingdom review, and until next time, see ya.